I thought I'd finally won at life, truly won, when I closed on the house in Oak Haven Preserve 2 years ago. Not because of the square footage or the curb appeal, but because of one specific thing. That oversized private two-car garage. You see, I'm Marcus Reed, a 36-year-old master welder, and for 6 brutal years, every dime of overtime, every late-night run, every cheap microwave dinner was dedicated to stacking enough cash to finally buy this place. And it was all for that garage. That space wasn't just storage. It was my fortress, my sanctuary. It held my grandfather's original weathered workbench, tools that had literally helped build the infrastructure of this country, and the air in there. The mix of cut metal, flux sealant, and honest sawdust was the sweetest perfume imaginable. It was the only place I could truly breathe, and where I was finally going to build that epic, custom-fabricated go-kart for my 6-year-old son, Leo, something the two of us could forge together. Oak Haven seemed like the postcard. New builds, young families, and a seemingly simple HOA with a mandatory $250 monthly fee. Keep the grass cut. Don't paint your door chartreuse. Mind your own business. Simple, right? Then I met Veronica. Veronica Thorne, mid-50s with hair cut into that impossibly perfect, sharp blonde bob, driving that monstrous, pearl-white Range Rover like it was a tank. She lived in the big corner estate that practically radiated an aura of expensive superiority. Her title was HOA Architectural Review Chair, but she operated as the self-appointed Grand Ayatollah of curb appeal. Her husband, Robert, was a city zoning commissioner, a fact she dropped into conversations like verbal cluster bombs, making sure you understood her reach extended far beyond her subdivision gate. My first real taste of her was months earlier. I was simply moving a custom trailer I'd built for my tools into the side yard, temporary storage for a big contract. She stopped her power walk, her Italian leather heels clicking on the pavement like a firing squad, clipboard clutched to her chest. "Mr. Reed," she purred, her voice like smooth, expensive gravel. "I don't see a permit filed for this commercial storage. We simply cannot have questionable contractors lowering our property values with industrial blight." The way she said contractor, it was acidic, laced with disgust. It was a calculated, class-based insult that said my 12 years of licensed, professional, backbreaking work meant nothing because I drove a dusty Ford F-250 instead of leasing German luxury. It left a bitter, metallic taste in my mouth, and it was my official, deeply personal welcome to Veronica's neighborhood. For 18 months, I was meticulous. I mowed the fescue to the exact, mandated 3-inch height. I retrieved the bins by 7:01 p.m. I followed every microscopic regulation, determined to give her zero ammunition. But that Tuesday evening, after a brutal 14-hour custom fabrication job where I was running on fumes, my luck ran out. I pulled into my driveway, and my blood ran cold. There it was, Veronica's pearl-white Range Rover, parked dead center in my garage. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't partially blocking. It was sitting perfectly on the painted center line, positioned with such arrogant precision that her expensive door handles were 6 inches from my treasured, irreplaceable grandfather's workbench. The smell of her car's new leather interior, that heavy, cloying perfume, clashed violently with my workshop's beloved mix of motor oil, flux, and sawdust. It felt like a complete, physical invasion of my soul. I stood there, garage remote hanging uselessly, just staring at the sheer, cold audacity of it all. Then I saw Veronica sitting on my front patio chair, scrolling on her phone, casually indifferent to the violation she represented. I took a deep breath, tried to channel the slow, deliberate patience required to weld a perfect seam. "Veronica, there's a vehicle in my private, deeded garage." She looked up with that practiced, brittle smile. "Oh, Marcus, my driveway is being resurfaced tomorrow. An emergency situation. The HOA emergency bylaw allows for temporary, cooperative use of available spaces during essential community maintenance." She waited, expecting me to shout, to be the predictable, temperamental working man. I pulled out my phone, opening the digital HOA documents. I just scrolled through the entire CC&R of Veronica. "I don't see emergency parking clause here. I'm happy to wait while you find the page number." She stood up slowly, smoothing her impossible trousers. I'm currently reviewing the bylaws for necessary updates. Consider this a pilot program for community cooperation. Her eyes dared me to challenge her. I didn't challenge. I pulled out my phone camera and started recording. So, to be absolutely clear, I said, my voice dangerously calm, you are admitting that this emergency parking clause doesn't exist yet, and you are using my private, deeded garage as a test case without my permission on camera. The smugness evaporated instantly. You can't record me without my consent. Actually, I can. We're standing on my private property, and this is a one-party consent state. Your power ends where my property line begins, Veronica. She lunged slightly to snatch the phone, but I was faster. Robert will hear about this, she hissed, resorting to the ultimate city planning threat. Good, I shot back. Because I'll look forward to hearing city planning's official position on the enforcement of non-existent HOA clauses. The next morning, I found a violation notice taped to my door. Failure to maintain community standards. Garage left open overnight, creating visual blight. Fine, $300. Resolve within 48 hours. The sheer irony, the blatant retaliation. She was fining me for the crime she caused. My lawyer friend, Derek Sue, told me, that fine is a gift, Marcus. It's written evidence of her harassment. Now, go check your deed. Your deed is the Constitution. The HOA map is just a suggestion. The real escalation hit Friday. Not only was the Range Rover still sitting there like a defiant platinum brick, but she'd brought a second vehicle, a black Mercedes, squeezed right beside it. And then I saw the sheer, stomach-turning audacity. My supply cabinet, holding $3,000 worth of custom fittings and tools, had been pushed to the back wall, and there was a brand new, generic padlock on it, replacing my own. A sticky note on my grandfather's vice read, temporary staging area for client presentation. Cooperation appreciated. VT. The rage was palpable, a dizzying metallic taste in my mouth. But instead of grabbing the bolt cutters I kept hanging right there, I dialed the non-emergency police line. Officer Ramirez arrived, documented the scene meticulously, and told Veronica flat out, property deed always trumps any HOA agreement, and her locking up my property was crossing a line. The sound of his pen clicking as he wrote the report felt like a final countdown on her little empire. I went straight to the county surveyor's office that afternoon. The clerk, an older woman named Patty who had clearly seen her share of suburban land wars, pulled up my lot survey. She pointed at the line on the screen. Honey, she said with a knowing smile that made my heart leap. Your original lot survey shows you own 22 inches more toward the street than your HOA map indicates. See this line? Your entire garage is on your private property. I walked out feeling an exhilarating sense of legal clarity, but the real hammer blow came when Derek called later that night. He had cross-referenced her company, her HOA reports, and her husband's city position against public fraud records. Marcus, this is bigger than parking, he said, his voice deadly serious. Your little garage dispute is Exhibit A in a federal property manipulation scheme. He explained the conspiracy. Veronica wasn't just a petty tyrant. She was the front-end operator of an organized network. Robert, the zoning commissioner, identified properties that were about to be dramatically upzoned or developed. Veronica would then manufacture crippling HOA violations, the grass height, the wind chimes, the work truck, to apply financial and emotional pressure on specific, vulnerable homeowners, forcing quick, undervalued sales. My corner lot, with its oversized garage, was prime real estate, slated for huge value increases soon. Mrs. Chin's memorial wind chimes? They were just an excuse to pressure an elderly widow into selling 6 months before the city rezoned her area for a community center, boosting values by 40%. This wasn't just classism, it was systemic, organized crime disguised as suburban governance. That's when Derek proposed the masterstroke. Veronica is a classic, textbook narcissist. She needs to be in control. She needs your reaction, and she cannot tolerate silence. What happens if you just disappear for 2 weeks? The plan was set. I took my accumulated vacation time and went camping with Leo, completely off the grid in the mountains. No cell service, no internet. Meanwhile, Tom Rodriguez, the Marine veteran she'd tried to find for his work truck, agreed to house sit and install military-grade surveillance cameras. Mrs. Chun volunteered to document every time Veronica passed her house. Sarah Mitchell, who ran the neighborhood Facebook group, agreed to monitor Veronica's inevitable online meltdown. Day 3 of camping, sitting by a clear stream teaching Leo how to skip stones, I got a satellite communicator message from Tom. She's completely unhinged. Call ASAP. I hiked up the ridge for signal. Tom's voice was electric. Marcus, she's losing it. Day 1, she tried to crowbar the door, claimed she was checking for leaks. Day 2, she called a locksmith with a fake story about electrical hazards. He bailed. Day 3, she brought a city electrical inspector out, a guy you know, and he warned her about filing false emergency reports and left. Tom added, I have her on camera attempting to jimmy the lock with a butter knife at midnight, claiming she heard strange noises and was ensuring community safety. I filed a police report for attempted burglary. The mountain air was clean and cold, but 200 miles away, Veronica was having a complete televised breakdown. I realized, watching Leo happily build a dam out of rocks, that I was finally breathing free while she was drowning in the prison of her own making. But the climax hit on day 9. Sarah called. Marcus, she's gone nuclear. She hired some random guy with bolt cutters. Tom confronted him, and the idiot immediately gave Veronica's name and phone number, confirming she paid him $200 cash to retrieve staging materials from your garage. Then came the boom. The state attorney general's office executed a search warrant on Veronica's house and real estate office at 6 a.m. this morning, with news cameras rolling. Tom's security footage, Mrs. Chin's meticulous files, and Derek's evidence package had given them everything. They found the spreadsheets, the bank records, the notes listing targets with explicit, cynical commentary like single father, working class, vulnerable, leverage through child's needs next to my name. The sweetest sound wasn't the birds. It was Sarah's final update. Oh, and Marcus? Veronica called you 17 times yesterday. The voicemails, they start demanding, then pleading, then they end with a full-blown, ugly, tearful breakdown. 2 weeks later, Leo and I pulled back into Oak Haven Preserve. 3 news vans were lining the curb. Neighbors were standing in clusters, pointing. And there, still sitting in my driveway, was Veronica's abandoned Range Rover, a $90,000 monument to her professional collapse and legal defeat. The community meeting was held in the elementary school cafeteria. Derek confirmed the sentences. Veronica got 18 months. Robert got 2 years and was banned from municipal work. Their house sold at auction for 60% of its former value. But the true moment, the one I'll never forget, was when Derek stood up and played the voicemails over the PA system. 17 messages, culminating in the final, broken one, recorded at 3 a.m. Please, Marcus, I'm begging you, just don't let them take everything. I never meant for it to go this far. I just wanted to control something. Everything's falling apart, and I thought if I could just make the neighborhood perfect, maybe Robert wouldn't leave, and I could stop feeling like such a failure. The silence in the room was absolute, followed by a collective gasp, and then the slow, powerful wave of applause. I didn't keep the civil settlement money. I used the $12,000 to establish the Oak Haven Property Rights Defense Fund, with Derek volunteering hours and Mrs. Chun running the accountability training. We helped 3 families in the first month alone. Veronica's methods were common, but now the word was out. Mess with the working families here, and people know exactly how to fight back. 6 months later, Leo and I finished the go-kart. We built the shed for it exactly 22 inches past where Veronica had claimed my property line ended. Because when you own the land, you use every inch of it. I realized that sometimes defending the smallest space, your sanctuary, your garage, is how you end up protecting the biggest things. Your dignity, your community, and your right to exist in your own home without someone else's permission.